The two most important pieces of any crypto trading strategy is knowing when to buy and when to sell. And the vast majority of people either buy way too late or sell everything way too late after the market's already crashed. This is what I did my first cycle back in 2017. I ended up buying crypto way too late. Despite that, I still ended up making a fortune in the crypto markets, but then I proceeded to hang on to my crypto all the way back down to the bottom. Learning my lesson in my second cycle, I bought early, held it all the way to the top, and sold at the right time to make a fortune. And currently, I'm in my third crypto cycle. This time, I had even better timing and was able to buy almost a week from the exact bottom, and I'm hoping to sell closer to the top this time as well. And this video is me detailing my exit strategy, my exact plan on how and when I plan to sell my crypto this cycle, and hopefully time the top even better. I'll also be sharing some of the signals that I'm using to know when we're getting close to the top later in this video. Spoiler alert, obviously, I don't think that we've topped yet this cycle and that we still have quite a ways to go and quite a bit higher to go from here. Okay, so for me personally, I'm not an active trader, but a long-term buy and hold investor when it comes to crypto. I try to time the bottom of the market and the top of the market. And that's it. Between the bottom and the top, I don't ever try to time like specific market dips. So like, I don't ever try to look at the market and say, oh, I think in this season it might dip or it's looking a little bit oversold here. I don't do any of that. I just try to buy the crypto cycle as a whole at the bottom and sell the crypto cycle as a whole at the top. It is really difficult to try to time the market during those short-term dips. But the wider you zoom out and the bigger picture approach you take, the easier it is to predict what's going to happen, in my opinion. For example, I have no idea if, say, tomorrow Bitcoin will be higher or lower. That's like really hard for me to predict what the, if Bitcoin will be higher and lower tomorrow, or like the exact price of what Bitcoin will be tomorrow. But if instead you asked me to predict in the next 5 years if Bitcoin would be higher or lower, that'd be a lot easier for me to make an assessment on. The more detailed you go on anything, the harder it is to predict like those small incremental things. The wider you go, the easier it is to predict bigger picture things. So again, my strategy is just to try to get two things right. When will the market bottom? And when will the market top? And I don't even care if I'm like perfectly right. I just care if generally I'm pretty close to the bottom and generally I'm pretty close to the top. And in my opinion, that is all I need to do to absolutely crush this cycle. Now, I've already talked about in past videos that I expect late 2024 for the crypto market to rally really hard. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are doubting this at this point because the global macro picture looks so bleak. There's been this big meltdown in the market, and that might seem a lot less likely at this point than maybe it did a couple months ago. But personally, I still believe this is going to happen. I still believe we're going to have this epic rally later in 2024, and that really is just inevitable at this point, in my opinion. Of course, I can't actually predict the future, so I could totally be wrong about this. But currently, that's my personal opinion. And I expect that to kick off the parabolic phase of the bull market, retail to come back, and us to go into a full-fledged bull run like we see every single crypto cycle. And my plan is to sell all of my crypto either in spring of 2025 or late 2025, depending on the top signals I'm looking at and if they're telling me that I should be selling or I shouldn't be selling. And again, I will explain what those are a little bit later in the video. And there is a small chance that I end up selling in early 2026 based on just like global macro liquidity cycles. I've seen some meaningful arguments that we could end up going actually a little bit later this cycle, and it could actually be a little bit slower to get going. And if that was correct, then I'd be wrong about a rally in late 2024, like I'm saying right now, and we'd probably see that rally in like spring of 2025, and then the market would go on a little bit longer than expected. That's always possible. And this is why my top signals are so important, because it shows me when we're in the right season to begin thinking about selling. And I know some of you guys like to just kind of pick a plan and stick with it, right? Like you want somebody to tell you, by the way, late 2025, that's when you got to sell, no questions asked. But the reality is you have to remain flexible. Like investing, you're always on your toes and you're always keeping an eye on the market and what's happening. And you can't be locked into one specific thing happening. You should always be prepared for multiple outcomes. And so in that case, like I said, I expect late 2024 to see this rally, but I'm not counting on it. It's not like I'm taking out a bunch of leverage and being like, if that doesn't happen, I'm going to lose everything. I am hoping that'll happen, and that's what I'm expecting it to happen. But if it doesn't happen and that happens instead in spring, I'm still okay. Like nothing bad's going to happen to me. And if I sell in spring or late 2025 or early 2026, it doesn't matter to me. There's no bad outcome if that shifts. I just got to keep an eye on it and be open to any possibility happening and not locked into any one possibility so I ignore reality and what's right in front of me. And obviously the most difficult part about knowing when the top is most people don't see it. Like, it's inherently hard to tell when you've reached the top for the vast majority of people. In fact, typically when it's the top of the market and it's the best, most opportune time to sell, it feels actually insane to think about selling. Like, most people are like, why would I sell now? I'm making so much money. This is the worst time to sell. I got to hold on because I'm going to double or triple my portfolio. It's going crazy. And this is, again, why I use a specific list of top signals and indicators to know when it's like all the red flags are going off and I should consider selling. Now, when I decide to sell, my overall plan is really, really simple. Whenever I think we've hit the top, I'm going to sell 1/3 of my portfolio. In my opinion, for most people, it's just way too difficult to sell everything at once. You have too much fear of missing out for you to be able to just pull the trigger and sell everything all at once. And that's why I choose to sell 1/3 versus my entire portfolio. And after selling that 1/3, I just wait. I watch the market and I see if I was right or maybe I was wrong. And odds are that first sell is probably going to come a bit early. I'm probably going to jump the gun a little too early, sell 1/3 of my portfolio, and that's okay. I still have 2/3 of my portfolio in the market to experience those gains. And now I've taken a good chunk of my portfolio off the table and I'm not stressing out and getting super emotional about the market state. Then as I wait, the next time I get confirmation or I feel really strongly that we've hit the top, I'm going to sell half of my remaining portfolio, or basically the second third of my portfolio. And then same thing, I'll sit, I'll watch, I'll wait. And again, once I get that confirmation that really this is the top, I'm right, we've hit the top, I'll sell the final third and I will be completely out of the crypto markets, leaving myself the option to keep 5 to 10% of my portfolio in the market to play late stage crypto market games. Typically late stage in the crypto market, that's like when the Ponzi's, meme coins, and all sorts of crazy things start popping off in the market. They're highly irresponsible and crazy risky, but you can make an absolute fortune playing those things if you know what you're doing and if you're doing it well. Obviously, I don't want to have my whole portfolio doing that. And that's why I would only take, again, 5 to 10% to play those games and see what I can do with it and kind of enjoy that late stage part of the market. And I did that last cycle. And during that phase of the market, my rule of thumb is if I'm playing with one of those kind of high risk, super dangerous Ponzi's or meme coins, etc., typically just depending on what I'm in and kind of the momentum of it, I'll either sell when it doubles, take my initial out, or if it triples, I'll take my initial out. That protects me because these things can go up really fast, but then they can collapse really fast. And that makes sure, I don't lose on all these positions as I'm playing these games. Now, I've had people ask me like when I sell, what I'm going to do. Like, am I just going to pull all the way out of the crypto market? Is it going to go into my bank? Is it going to go into stables? And what I'll probably do is I'll keep a good portion of it in stables. I'll probably move some into my bank account. And hopefully what I'm planning on doing is diversifying some of that into something else, right? Like maybe real estate, stocks. I don't know at this moment what I'm going to do, but I'll diversify it into something else, a portion of that. Not all of that, because I do plan on playing the cycle after that. But when I'm waiting out the bear market, I want some of that in something else working for me, doing something. And then from there, my current plan is just to sit out of the crypto market for about a year. So I'm going to be watching the market, looking for the bottom. And then when I feel like the bottom's in, which some of that does just take time, once I feel like the bottom's in, then I'll jump back into the crypto market and I'll play my fourth cycle. And I'll probably play that fourth cycle a little more conservatively than I have these past two. And during that year, when I'm not necessarily investing in the crypto space, I'm still going to pay attention to everything. I'm still going to keep up to date on everything happening, all the new advancements in the space. I'm still going to use things on chain to learn how they work and how everything is changing, because I think that's a really important part of the process to be able to invest well when the time comes. And I talked about this a lot during this last bear market. The whole point of a bear market, your whole goal is just to preserve your dry powder, preserve your capital. You want to spend that whole market protecting that capital so that you can deploy it at the right time to then experience the upside of the markets as it starts to climb. So how do I know if the top is in spring of 2025, late 2025, early 2026? How do I know when we finally hit the top? I'm going to share the signals that I use to identify if we've hit a top or not in just a second, but really quick. The Obsidian Council is my private research community where I share monthly research, my entire portfolio updated monthly with the exact allocation I bought and a ton more. We've had projects like Pendle, which is up over 1,500%, projects like Solana, which is up over 779%, projects like Akash, which is up over 1,700%. And recently I got really lucky with Goon and it went up over 179,000%. That definitely is not typically normal, and that's definitely an outlier example. We also have the Airdrop guide with some members made over $26,000 last year from airdrops alone, covering their entire membership for literally decades. I personally made well over 100K between this year and last, and I share everything I'm personally doing with airdrops with the community via the monthly airdrop guide. I just opened back up the OC to 50 new members. There's a link in the description of this video. If signups are already closed by the time you're watching this video, go ahead and join the waitlist and you can jump in next time I open it back up. So how do I know when it's the top and when it's time to sell? Well, I put together a list of top signals that I've compiled over the past 2 cycles investing in the crypto markets. And some of these top signals have been historically insanely accurate at identifying when the crypto market has reached its peak. And the way that I use these signals is I use them as an overall gauge. So I'm looking at all the signals to determine if it's the top or not, rather than relying on any single one. The first top signal that I like to look at is Coinbase topping the App Store rankings? This is a pretty basic one that's widely known, but it has historically done a really good job at showing you when we're reaching the top of a bull cycle. The second top signal is mentions of the super cycle or some sort of variant of that concept. When people are coming up with reasons and thoughts on why this cycle is different and we're not going to see the bear market, it's never going to collapse, we're going to keep going up for a long time, typically that is a sign that it's time to sell. Third is when Ponzi's, meme coins, celeb coins, NFTs, etc. are going crazy in the market. Typically, that's a sign of froth. There's a lot of attention on crypto. Attention is maybe peaked, and there's not a lot more participants on the sidelines able to come in, which means eventually prices are going to collapse. By the way, I'm speed running through these top signals. I actually have a video where I have way more top signals than this. I go into way more detail on each of these individual top signals. It's a really great video if you're interested in learning a list of my top signals that I use to determine when I'm going to sell. Fourth is the typical 4-year cycle. The 4-year cycle has historically been literally 100% accurate on identifying the tops and the bottoms on when to buy and sell your crypto. And it follows an eerily specific pattern that it just does over and over again. It's crazy that it still keeps going the exact way that it's gone every single cycle so far. Now, obviously, one day this thing has to break. This can't go on forever. One day the 4-year cycle will be broken and it'll no longer be a useful indicator. And that could always be this cycle. That's why people don't just use it, because they assume, oh, okay, that's worked the past couple cycles, but this cycle, it's obviously not going to work, so therefore I'm not going to look at it. That could be true. Maybe it doesn't work this cycle, but maybe it does. So it's always one I look at, but it's also always one I'm taking with a grain of salt. And I'm sure you're wondering, currently, if you look at the 4-year cycle pattern, it's saying that we're going to top in late 2025. The fifth indicator that I look at is the classic, your Uber driver is telling you what to invest in. If your friends, family members, your barber, or just your school teacher, like somebody that shouldn't be telling you what to invest in when it comes to crypto, really doesn't have a background or experience when it comes to crypto, is giving you like their top altcoin picks, that's typically a sign that it's time to sell. The sixth is just in general leverage entering the market. So when people are maxing out their credit cards, they're mortgaging their house to invest in crypto, etc. When you see that kind of behavior widely distributed throughout the crypto markets, that is a really big red flag that maybe it's time to sell. The seventh is more of a vague one, but it's in general when the overall sentiment in the market is that crypto is only going to continue to go up only. And everyone is just wildly crazy bullish. If you've noticed this cycle, even in like February of this year, when the markets were doing really good, people still weren't like inherently bullish. In fact, like they were really bearish. Even when the markets were like reaching all-time highs, the overall sentiment felt very bearish. That is not how it is in a full-fledged bull market. It is like wildly bullish. Everyone is crazy bullish. And finally, number 8 is when you feel like it's peak stupidity to sell. When it's time to actually sell, it'll feel like the exact opposite. Like it is the worst time to sell because you're just going to make so much money. You've been making so much money, and in your mind, you're going to continue making so much more money. So why would you sell? Like it makes no sense. It'll feel just crazy. In the same way that like at a market bottom, everyone's too fearful to buy. At a market top, everyone's too greedy. And I have a ton more signals, as I mentioned in my full top signals video, including a few technical indicators that I find really useful and have a pretty decent accuracy historically. If you're interested, make sure to sign up for my free weekly crypto newsletter. It's mostly just all the content I put out each week in an easy email, so you don't miss it. But occasionally I do drop some other cool stuff in there, so it's worth checking out. If you have any questions or comments about my strategy, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the little bell next to it to be notified each time I release a new video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.